Should you still buy the iPad 9th generation in 2024? Let's find out. The speed and performance of the iPad 9th generation is still really good in my opinion. It feels fast, and that's also when you are switching between different apps. It just works great in my opinion. It is also very stable and I haven't noticed any lag or other big issues. And the design of the software also looks nice. It originally came with iPadOS 15, but now it has iPadOS 17 and it will probably get even more updates in the future because it isn't that old. And it works great for most things, like internet browsing, playing some games, drawing because it also has support for the Apple Pencil, and some basic video editing is also definitely possible on this machine. It is an iPad, so you can't install desktop applications on here. However, it does have the App Store, and in the App Store there are some really nice apps. And apps on an iPad are so much better compared to apps on an Android tablet in my opinion. Most of the apps in the App Store are also optimized for the iPad, whereas with Android tablets it feels like you are using a large smartphone. And iPadOS has really nice animations. So in terms of speed, performance and software, it is still a really nice iPad in my opinion. It has 64 or 256 gigabytes of storage. 64 gigabytes for most people is enough, but if you like to store a lot of files or install a lot of apps, then you might want to get the 256 gigabyte model. But most of the time for most people, 64 gigabytes is enough. The screen on this iPad looks really nice. And the thing that I really like about this one is that it can go really dim, so that's great when you are indoors, but also really bright, and the colors also look really nice. I'm also a fan of the screen size. It isn't a massive screen, but it's also not a really small screen that you can barely read, so I think for most people this is a good screen size. The battery life of this iPad 9th generation is really impressive. It is 8557 mAh and it will last you a very long time. But that also means that the charging will be a little bit slow. But I really like how long the battery lasts. You can do so much with it, and that means that you can use it for multiple days without needing to charge it. So if you are looking for an iPad that has a good battery life, this is definitely a good option. It has a front and rear facing camera. But of course tablets aren't meant to replace your normal camera. The photo and video quality is fine, and the back camera can be useful, for example scanning QR codes or taking photos of notes. And also with the front camera, it's nothing amazing, but it's so much better compared to most Windows laptops. Again, it looks decent, but it's nothing amazing. The build of the iPad 9 still feels really nice in my opinion. It does have a little bit bigger bezels compared to other iPads, but it's not bad, and it is a 10.2 inch display. When you are using the screen you aren't really focused on the bezels on the side, so it doesn't really matter, but it does look a little bit more outdated compared to the newer other iPads. But I would rather have an outdated design that is very well built than a new design that has bad build quality. It does have a nice Touch ID button on the front. You can tap it to unlock the iPad and it will unlock very fast. It works very accurate and it is reliable. It is only 7.5mm thick, so it's a very thin iPad, and on the back it's made from aluminium. And it looks very similar to the older iPads, but that isn't a bad thing. It looks nice, but it's also durable. It has stereo speakers on the bottom and they sound good. They can go pretty loud, and there's also a good amount of bass and treble. For ports, it sadly still has a lightning port for charging. I'm not a big fan of the port, and the iPad also takes a long time to charge because the battery is really big. So it would be nice if it had USB-C, but I think for most people a lightning port isn't a big issue. There's also a headphone jack here, which is really nice in my opinion. So you don't need wireless headphones, you can still use your wired headphones with it. It also has some connectors for the keyboard, and the power and volume buttons are all in the top right and they work great. So should you buy the iPad 9th generation in 2024? I think probably yes, if you are searching for an iPad that isn't too expensive but can still do a lot of things. Of course it isn't perfect, the design looks a little bit old, it doesn't have USB-C and the camera doesn't look amazing. But for the price I definitely think it's still a really good option. It will still get software support for a decent amount of time. It works fast, reliable, with very good performance in my opinion, and also very good battery life. What do you think of this iPad? Are you planning on buying one or do you already have one? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.